Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to mourn the passing of our cherished friend, Bitcoin. A friend who came to the world full of promise and hope, seeking to protect us from inflation, fraud, and worthless printing press money. Alas, Bitcoin is dead. Hey guys, Randy Gage here. Welcome you to another edition of the Power Prosperity Podcast, coming to you live and in color from Miami. And turn the camera on, and I'm going to post this to the YouTube channel, Prosperity TV, as well. Let's begin with the statement, Bitcoin isn't dead. I actually fear it's facing a fate worse than death, which is irrelevant. But let me back up and tell you how this post came about, just for you guys who are new here. Back in November, so I'm recording this on December 13th, 2022. Back a few weeks ago, I made an announcement post on my blogs and newsletter to the people who follow my work. And I let them know I had sold all of my digital assets, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I did that because, and I don't do that because I'm normally talking about my finances. I like to keep my private business private. And so I'm not one of these people who publish updates on their bank accounts and how much money they made with this or made with that. Because I'm not a financial planner or investment advisor. And I guess we should start with that disclaimer. I'm not a registered securities broker. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not an investment planner. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not an accountant. I'm a high school dropout. And dropout is being a little diplomatic because technically I was expelled from Madison West Senior High School in Madison, Wisconsin, back way back in the day. So none of this is investment advice. My work is about how you apply the principles of prosperity. And as part of that work, sometimes I have to look at things like cryptocurrencies, the blockchain, and evaluate how do they impact the space of prosperity. So in the past, in my work, I have talked about cryptocurrencies. If you don't know, I wrote a book back in 2012, published then. I probably wrote it in 2011. And I talked about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and really thought that they were a pretty amazing thing, a real amazing potential for the good of humankind. And I invested in them at that time. So I've championed them, and I thought this is a good, they fit my criteria for investing, which is I like to invest in things that are building the future. And I saw cryptocurrency as a really positive development for humankind. So I was happy to invest in those technologies because it's furthering our journey toward enlightenment, our journey toward a more prosperous planet. And so that's why I did, when I sold off all my crypto assets, I made that announcement because I'm not one of these people that like to put something out in the public sphere, but I'm actually doing something different in private. I've always been an open book with you guys. I'm, like, again, I don't come to you from any titles or positions or degrees. I'm just a guy who was a minimum wage dishwasher who worked his way up, and I became wealthy. And I did it with street smart common sense. And so I share what's working for me and what's not working for me. And so I'm an open book that way. So I didn't want anyone to think, who had read my earlier books or my earlier blog or podcast, and say, hey, Randy's a champion of cryptocurrency, when that was no longer the case. So when I made that announcement, I promised that, I was just putting it out there to be transparent, but that I would follow up and do an extensive blog post, a complete essay on my reasoning why I left crypto. So I did that. If you would like to read the whole thing, and it's like 4,000 words, it's a long post. It's on my website, randygage.com, and just click blog and then look for RIP Bitcoin. So what is this podcast and YouTube video? This is the too long didn't read version. And for you guys who don't read anything and you just want to listen on the podcast when you're working out or walking your dog, or you're on a plane, or you're doing your elliptical or whatever. So that's what this is. So again, make note, I'm not a financial planner. This is just me exploring the subject from the principles of prosperity. The second thing I want you to know is I never was one of those anti-crypto activists. I always thought that technology had amazing potential from the second I learned of the blockchain. And again, just to reemphasize, it's a, RIP crypto's a sexy clickbait title. I actually don't think Bitcoin is going to be dead, or even cryptocurrencies. I just think they've missed their timing window to become what they could have been. And now, and so the other thing I would say before I give you the reasons why I'm out of crypto is I also want to say, it's not for the normal reasons that you hear from anti-crypto people. It's not because it hasn't achieved status as a hedge against inflation. It's not because nobody's really using it as any of them as actual currencies, or that they're not a true store of value. Those are the traditional anti-crypto arguments in the space. I wasn't making them because I never judge new tech by how it is in version 1. Or version 2, or sometimes even version 10. It's always janky, inconvenient, bulky, filled with glitches in the early stages. So what we've got to do to be visionary investors or visionary entrepreneurs or visionary leaders is we have to say, okay, let me envision how this is going to work at scale after it's developed. And I felt then the cryptocurrency had amazing potential. But so that brings us to the question, why have I bailed on crypto? And there's three buckets of reasoning that I'll give you here. Bucket number 1 is the crypto infrastructure and ecosystem are irredeemably corrupt. It's a cesspool of bad actors, the entire crypto space. So I told you I'm recording this on December 13th. Last night, Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of Alameda Research and FTX, was arrested in the Bahamas, got a bunch of charges against him. And, I don't even want to go into all of the exchange bankruptcies and failures and hacks. That's all public information out there. What I will say is they're increasing. There's a domino effect. And as of this date, at this moment that I'm recording this, I'm expecting what I predicted in June of 2021 that we're in the beginning of a crypto bloodbath, and the ripple effects of this FTX bankruptcy and what happens next when all of the political donations are revealed, all of the ripple effects when the bankruptcy judge goes and claws back that money, when we find out how many of those other, BlockFi, Gemini, other exchanges and tokens that were financed by FTX, and the bankruptcy judges, or they, received loans from them, or they took loans from them, and they were based on this completely imaginary shit coin that Bankman-Fried created, which had zero actual worth in the world. And other exchanges have borrowed against that. And so that's why Gemini isn't paying out interest on their, interest program right now, why some of these other exchanges have filed for bankruptcy. And I believe it's the start. And I think if you watch this on December 15th or December 17th or next year or the year, you're just going to see how many more came. And so, what's prosperous about investing in an infrastructure that is incredibly corrupt? So I want no part of that. So that's reasoning area number one. The second bucket is we have to explore something that's called the Overton window, which is this window of opportunity of how public perception is about a thing. And the window describes how that changes over time, right? So I'm an old guy. I'm not old enough to remember segregation and segregated water coolers, but I'm old enough to remember, but that stuff was around as I was a child. But, when I got up into conscious stuff, it was still, the window was not open. Interracial marriage it was illegal, okay? Same-sex marriage was illegal. Right. So what has, you see the window has changed on that stuff. And that's what we describe that. So I say there's this certain window of opportunity when crypto could have ate the world. Like, we say software eats the world. Crypto could have been the undisputed champion because it's the basic idea is genius. What Satoshi talked about was brilliant, visionary, mad genius. But first, it has to get mass adoption before the incumbents try to shut it down. Steve Jobs once famously said, it's better to be a pirate than join the Navy. What did he mean by that? Well, I think that's a fascinating question for this discussion. You say, why is it better to be a pirate than join the Navy? And I think in the area of tech specifically, you have to be a pirate because you have to disrupt, and you have all these incumbents and all these incumbent laws and regulations and restrictions and obstacles. So if you want to be a disruptor like Travis and the pirates who started Uber, right? Everywhere they started, virtually they were illegal, right? Because the corrupt taxi monopoly owned every major market. And so Travis and the boys and girls, they just were pirates, and they went out and did this new service and say, hey, this taxi regulation, it doesn't apply to us. And they went out and got all these delighted customers because they had a better idea. They had a better model than that taxi medallion hot mess. And then what did governments do? The incumbents, the taxi companies started screaming to the city council and the mayor in San Francisco, and virtually repeated in every city they opened. And so the city said, we're going to find these drivers, we're going to shut them down, we're going to impound their cars and tow them away. And Uber sent alerts to all their delighted customers saying, hey, the city's trying to take us away from you. They're trying to shut us down. And they created enough public outcry that the markets had to relent, because the people spoke and they said, this is a better deal. So what happened today, Uber and Lyft are now the Navy. They're the incumbent, and they're the ones who are going to try to strangle out anybody who tries to, they're trying to build a moat around their businesses and protect new pirates from coming up and taking their market share. This is what the business schools call disruption. It was the same kind of thing with Airbnb. It was the same kind of thing with Amazon, right? Amazon didn't face the regulatory stuff. They just faced the skepticism of people said, people buy books in a bookstore. Why would anybody buy a book online? That's crazy. You could never stock enough titles. Airbnb had the real pirate dynamic happen because, again, municipalities said, this is a hotel. We need to send a health inspector. We need to know, are you handicap access certified? We need to know, did you follow the building code? Are you serving food? We need the restaurant, the health department to come and inspect the stove and the refrigerator and how food conditions are done. And Airbnb said, no, we don't do any of that shit. We're not a hotel. We're just a bed and breakfast, and we don't, they were a pirate. Same thing, many municipalities wanted to shut them down, and they got their evangelicalized customers to defend them, and they became accepted. So there's a window of time for that to happen. And what I'm positing is the case here is that the window has closed on that for crypto because there's been so much fraud, so many hacks, so many pump and dump schemes, so many phony ICOs, so many blockchains that exist only in the imagination of the founder. And there's millions of people being hurt. Then throw in these MLM cryptocurrency scams. Okay, that, really one coin, Ruya, however you say her name, the crypto queen who's currently a fugitive from justice, floating out on her yacht somewhere in one of the 7 seas, was the first one. But you have Omega Pro, you have Evo Rich, you have Zifra, Decentra. These, the fundamental model can't work. You can't base a direct selling or leverage sales commission plan on a currency. It's like saying, okay, we have an MLM company for the US dollar. I have a $20 bill here. I'm going to sell it to you for only $25. You say, why would I buy a $20 bill for $25? And I said, well, because it could go up to $30. It's just ridiculous. It's dead on arrival. Now, what are these MLM crypto scams doing? They're saying, well, we're not really selling that. We have our own token, which we've created, and that's going to appreciate in value. And it comes with these other, benefits. Or they say, we're not, we don't base this on Bitcoin or Dogecoin or our own coin. We're just an exchange, and we allow people to buy and sell currencies, cryptocurrencies, and they make money on that. Or we have education programs about them. It's all just a ruse. It's just because it breaks the fundamental issue of a direct selling or leverage sales and network marketing opportunity, which is it's got to be able to duplicate. And anybody needs to be able to do it. And the person at the 50th level has to have the same opportunity as the person at the first level. And it can't be where the problem is there's laws and regulations governing these. These are securities. You can, in so many, and I get that these companies go to Dubai or places like it where there's no regulation, so they can get away with this for a limited time. But that's why wasn't, why doesn't Omega Pro operate in the United States? Because they don't want to go to prison. And they know if they showed up here, if they got off a plane, they'd be in a cell 2 hours later. Because real countries have real laws that say you can't just take this bus boy or Lyft driver and have them selling securities or have them selling currencies. There has to be regulations, there has to be licensing, there has to be testing. So it just doesn't work. So in other words, it's just a mess. And all of these things happening has soured the public perception. I mean, I'm shocked. I was working out in the gym when the FTX bankruptcy first happened, and I was Good Morning America and the Today Show and the daytime talk shows and the news everything was about FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, and Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank and his role in that, some of the other people. I mean, it really captured the news cycle in a way that I never expected. I just didn't think crypto had enough bandwidth to be that intriguing to that many people. But the scandals certainly did. And so I just say, I think that all of these bankruptcies and sketchy ICO, and then throw in all the sketchy NFTs, which have all collapsed, which is based on the blockchain. It's not really cryptocurrency, but it's associated with it. And I just feel like the public perception of this is miserable. Like this is just a cesspool of fraud and deceit. And why would I want to get involved with it? And of course, the evangelical day traders who are plunging their lungs out, they love it, and they love the ups and the downs, and they figure they can make money each way. And great, more power to them. I'm not telling anyone what to do with their money. I'm just sharing what I do with mine. What's my philosophy? And that really leads me to the third bucket of reasoning here, which is, I just find that cryptocurrency space isn't any longer congruent with my investing philosophy, because I sold all my crypto because I felt like I wasn't participating in something for the greater good. I felt this is just skeezy. This is sleazy. This is cheesy. I need to go take a shower. I don't want anything to do with this, because I love investing in people, in dreamers, in builders. But you guys know, my core foundational philosophy that I operate my business empire with is that prosperity is created three ways. Way number one is you solve problems. You go to dentistry school, you become a dentist, you know how to solve problems. When somebody has an abscessed tooth, they will gratefully, lovingly, joyfully throw money at you to make that abscessed tooth pain disappear. You're solving problems. The second way we build wealth in a prosperous manner is we add value. So if you can show Ford Motor Company how they can save $100 every time they assemble a Ford F-150 pickup truck, they will gladly give you a percentage of that. They'll give you $25 or $50 of that, because if you can show them some proprietary way to add value, that they can manufacture that truck for $150 less, they give you $50, they still save $100 every truck, and they sell millions of trucks. That's lots of money. So we can solve problems, we can add value. Or the third way is we envision a superior possibility. That's what Steve Jobs did with the iPad. Nobody said, well, I want a £1.50 phone. Nobody said, hey, I want to rip the keyboard off my laptop and just carry the screen around. Nobody was asking for it. But when he envisioned it, developed it, built it out, and offered it for sale, everybody who saw it, people like me, said, I want one of those. I bought 8 of those since it's come out. Okay, 8 iPads for something that didn't even exist, for a superior possibility that he envisioned. So that's where I want to put my investments. I like investing in founders, board of directors, executives, presidents, CEOs, CFOs, vice presidents who have integrity, who have character, who have a vision, and their vision for their business somehow involves solving problems, adding value, envisioning a superior possibility, or 2 out of 3, or 3 out of 3. So that's where I'm at. That's why I got out of crypto. I may very well go back into space sometime. I do believe, because to me, the sexy thing is not cryptocurrency. The sexy thing is the blockchain. And there's all kind of incredible possibilities with that. So I may come back into point. I feel like right now, crypto's not dead, but I think it's going to be irrelevant, because I think most people, anybody with a room temperature IQ or above, might say, there's there's so much smoke here. There's got to be some fire, and maybe I need to sit this out for a little while and let things sort through. Hopefully, if you do, you've got your assets in cold storage, not on any exchange. If you don't have the keys, you don't have the crypto, right? So if you're one of the people doing that, great. I hope you got it in cold storage and you sit it out. And 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now, you may have a Bitcoin that you bought at $15,000 and it's worth $100,000. So for everyone who's going to say, well, Gage, don't be an idiot. Look at me. I just made this much money on this coin or this much money on that coin. Great. You know what? I made my way through middle school as a drug dealer. I wouldn't want to do that anymore. I added to my income when I was 15 years old by being a burglar and an armed robber, and went to jail for that. And you know what? That's not how I want to make my money anymore. I don't want to whore out my name and create some sketchy NFT to sell you guys. I don't. When I die, the what do you call it? The tombstone. Hopefully the tombstone's going to say, here lies the body of Randy Gage. He never sold anyone a shit coin or a sketchy NFT. And I say that halfway in jest. I just, there's lots of ways you can make money. So let me be clear. I'm not telling anybody to sell their cryptocurrency. That's none of my business. I'm just sharing my philosophy of how I'm approaching it from a prosperity context. And I don't feel the space is prosperous right now. And I think the thing I said for you guys who followed, I was going to do it annually, and then I didn't want to follow through with it. But back in 2018, I did, okay, here's my prosperity thesis for what's great businesses for the new year. What are the things that I'm going to invest in personally, and what are the things I'm not? And one of the things I said back then, for you guys who've been with me, who were there and bought that presentation, it was a streaming presentation series I did. You remember I said, I just don't see Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency becoming to broad mass adoption if it gets co-opted by governments, because the whole point of crypto is, that was my original thing, to be a netizen, not a citizen. I want to be a netizen of the world. I don't trust governments. I don't trust monetary policy. I don't trust central bankers. I think the U.S. government programs like the Social Security program are some of the biggest Ponzi schemes in the history of humankind. So why would I trust my prosperity to one government and one currency? I wouldn't. So to me, the allure of cryptocurrency is this is the hedge against fiat currencies. But, Senator Elizabeth Warren has a bill out right now, and, she's putting to the Senate about regulating cryptocurrency. The EU just said a couple of weeks ago, we're going to put any crypto transaction over 1,000 euros under surveillance. I mean, we know where this goes next. So at some point, they'll be saying, well, why do you want private keys for your crypto? Why would you buy a crypto from a universal decentralized crypto when we offer the US cryptocurrency, the Patriot cryptocurrency? Are you a trader? Are you a narco trafficker? Are you a pedophile doing sex trafficking? Why do you want privacy? Why would, are you a traitor? This is what governments do. And what I see now, because of what's going on, all these market meltdowns, now these politicians all realize, wow, I can start holding hearings. I can start conducting press conferences. I can go on national TV. I can boost my profile, and I could be a crusader to protect people from the evil, mean cryptocurrency empire. And that's going to mean governments meddling in cryptos and make them irrelevant. Like, who's going to use them? If you live in Venezuela, the reason you're buying Bitcoin is because your government is completely corrupt and your currency, your national currency, gets devalued dozens of % a day. And when companies have to start printing billion-dollar notes and trillion-dollar, peso, pound, dollar, whatever they call it in these countries, where people have to be a trillionaire to go buy a week's worth of groceries, there's a problem there, right? So that's what I feel like crypto needed to get through that window, like Airbnb did, like Uber did, before the onerous, smothering regulations took place. What we needed was a modest, minimal regulatory environment that, with things that say, okay, if you are a cryptocurrency exchange, you might need to have an actual address somewhere. Like Binance, which is the 800-pound gorilla in the space. Go on their website and look for where they're headquartered. You won't find it. There is no headquarters. Okay, it's, quote, decentralized. So we might want government, and I lean libertarian, so I don't like government regulations, but we might want to say, hey, to be an accredited crypto exchange, you have to show a certain amount of actual liquidity, like they do with banks. You have to show you're not taking your client's money and borrowing against it, or just directly stealing it, as the embezzlement with the case you see of FTX and some of these other ones, right? You might want a little bit of that. But once you get them saying, hey, we're looking at any transaction over this amount, or hey, we think the country needs to do its own cryptocurrency, I just think it's gonna, I know how that story ends, and I don't want any part of that. So again, there will be people, fortunes will be made, and fortunes will be lost in crypto in the next 5 years. Just like fortunes will be made and fortunes will be lost in the stock market in the next 5 years. Fortunes will be made and fortunes will be lost at the Las Vegas casinos and the Macau casinos and the Atlantic City casinos. That's all crypto is at this point. It's a currency only casino. And if you like to be a day trader and do that, mazel tov, go plunge your lungs out. I'm just sharing my philosophy of how I like to build my wealth and make my investments. And I like to do it with prosperity consciousness. So if you are a builder or a founder and you're starting something and you got passion, intensity, urgency, you have a higher a vision for something of the greater good. You found a way to solve problems, add values, envision a superior possibility. Give me a shout. Maybe I want to invest in you. All I know is right now, I don't want to invest in crypto. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. Go out and have an amazing day. Do me a favor, hit the comments. And by the way, you don't have to agree with me. You want to get down in the comments here on the YouTube channel and tell me how crazy I am because Bitcoin is going to go to $10 billion. Great. Just keep it civil. Don't attack anybody personally. Talk about the ideas, the concepts and the ideas of Bitcoin, Ethereum, the other kind of cryptos, the blockchain. That's a fascinating discussion, and discussion about how prosperity is created, adding value, solving problems, envisioning superior possibilities. Join the community or go to the website. Again, the post is RIP Bitcoin if you want to put your comments there or put them on the YouTube channel. And let's have a discussion. Keep it civil, keep it to the ideas, and let's all work together to build a more prosperous world. Peace.